You know how, like, in, like, some of those small farm towns?
Oh,
How, like,
Talking about
he's
that
like, he's like, is that you there, Daryl? He's like, you bet your sweet ass it is, boy. Now quit holding me up. I got to take a shit. And he's like, what?
This is the Boolin with the Boys podcast, episode number 3.5. We previously tried to record this podcast, and we had some audio issues. So we're going to try this again. And if you haven't gotten the chance yet, we will be uploading our movie review of the Justice League. That was another late night escapade. So go back and watch that if you have any interest in Justice League or our opinions of the Justice League. It was a fun watch, wasn't it, Jake?
No comment.
So, in our podcast episode 3, before we were here, 3.5, we were talking about what, Hunter?
Body positivity.
Yeah.
It's like the kid you just call out in class. What do we talk about again?
Yeah.
Body positivity.
He's like,
I'm trying to get this text out because a client has an issue.
You texting your hoes? I get it.
It's a client.
I literally just got done talking about this topic and none of it was recorded. I am mad. I do not want to talk about this anymore.
I am mad. I am sad.
That's a crisp crack right there.
That is a crisp crack of a bush latte. So we're talking about this body positivity nonsense.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
And so, what was your take on it, Hunter? What's your
2.0?
Yes, 2.0. Let's see if you can do a little more refined this time.
Yeah, a little more,
a little more refined,
not so uncensored.
the
Hunter gone wild.
The point of my first rant is that don't come into I put it to Jake like this way before we started recording our first episode. So I'm learning guitar. So let me put it this way. If I picked up a guitar and said, I'm Eddie Van Halen, and then I played tunes like I had no thumbs and no fingers, people would be like, no, you're not. So if someone walks into, let's say, a modeling agency or walks up to Victoria's Secret or somewhere where, normally the bodies they're not, like, sometimes Victoria's Secret isn't even, like, thick as in, like, they go to the gym. They're just, like, thin. So, like, if you go to somewhere where you're either thin or in shape, but you're weighing about 100 pounds heavier than the other girl and you look like you ate another girl.
Looking like a snake.
Or if you're a dude and you look like you got, a little bit of, like, you got rolls on you. I'm sorry, but if we're looking for fitness models, you ain't fitting the role.
Pun intended.
Exactly. And that's my beef. Is I don't care if you want to be that size. Go be that size as long as you're not affecting me. But my thing is, don't demand that everyone see you to be just as good in shape as like a Scarlett Johansson or
The Rock,
or whatever, because we're not. I'm not. Maybe some soy boy simps will, but not me, because you're not. Like, it's just facts. Facts don't care about your feelings, as Ben Shapiro says.
And so just to clarify what we're talking about for the people that maybe don't know what we're talking about situations where you have a push here more recently of putting plus size models or fat people, let's just call it what it is, fat people in front of magazines saying this, or on the front of magazines or in front of the public and saying, this is what you should be. This is what you should be just fine looking like this. This is completely normal. This is completely healthy. Be proud of who you are. And we should promote this. We should push this. And so, while there is nothing wrong with being someone who is, there is something wrong with being obese. You should want to be healthy because there are health issues that come with being obese. But we're not here on the Boolin with the Boys podcast to fat shame anybody necessarily. Hunter might be. Hunter don't give a shit.
Whoa.
Hunter's unfiltered.
Hunter don't play.
I told you where I come from. Listen, Oh, you can be fat. I know a lot of fat people. I am one of my fat people. Hey, I'm not where I need to be right now. Now, do I look fat? That's debatable. I say yes. Some people tell me no.
Hunter, you are beautiful in your own.
But
you are beautiful.
The thing is, you can, like I said, you can be fat. It's not good for your health, but you can be fat. Listen, I'll even bring you a Twinkie. Whatever. I'll bring you 10 Twinkies.
Is that something
Just
sexual?
don't tell me that you're going to be a fucking model. Because you're not. Like, the only model you're going to be is a model for a diabetes medicine.
Oh, wow.
Like,
God damn.
and that's the
Is it called the
facts.
A1C?
So, like,
man.
because it just bleeds into the whole, takeaway competition. And that's cancerous to a society, and that's cancerous to anyone trying to better themselves. Is if you put yourself as, I can't do this because yada yada society, you're just making up excuses because you're a baby back bitch and you need to harden up a little bit.
So we're just speaking in terms of what we're talking about is
we're talking society. We're talking, hey, you want to get in shape? You want to be on the cover of Victoria's Secret? Find a diet, find a gym, and get after it. Shut up.
Well, let's talk about this too, because we talked about this in episode 3 before 3.5.
3.0.
We're not going to point any fingers. I did that.
Well, we're going to sit there. Yeah, they're all looking at me. They're both looking at me, getting ready to overthrow the podcast
Guru
narrator. Yeah. So, but we also talked about, while yes, it is not healthy to be obese, there can also be unhealthiness as far as in the model community too, is what you do see. And it's been shown before as far as you have people that are like putting themselves and their bodies through hell just to be on the cover of that magazine, just to look the way that they do. I mean, pencil thin looking people running around, and that's not healthy either. I mean, that's something that Jake touched on in episode 3. If you want to elaborate more, Jake, you're welcome to. Just because
to kind of, I feel like if you are a heavier set person, and if there is a magazine that promotes that, I don't care.
Yeah.
But don't promote it as a healthy lifestyle. Promote it as it is. You are trying to say it's okay to be in your own skin and be comfortable in your own skin. But if you start promoting it as a healthy lifestyle, then that's where I kind of draw that line.
And I would agree.
Because being even overweight, that puts you more at risk for heart disease, diabetes, all these other problems that come from overweight or being obese. But that's also kind of, I'm not focusing on those people. I'm also focusing on the people who are on the other side of the spectrum. I mean, if you are trying to go for that 2%, 5% body fat, that's also unhealthy too, because they're not eating the normal amount of nutrients that they need for their body, which is messing up their metabolism. There's a lot of women who are at that weight. I mean, look at gymnasts. They have very infrequent egg dropping. Like, they don't shed as a normal person would because they're at such a low body fat percentage. And the same thing goes for men too. I mean, you see them on fitness magazines. They look ripped. They're juiced up. They look big. But they have steroids. They're using steroids, and if you know anything about medicine, you know anything about health, steroids causes issues inside your body. You may look like you're in shape, you may look healthy, but inside your body you have an enlarged heart. I mean, there's so much stuff that's going on that could potentially kill. And that's why a lot of people who are bodybuilders who are using an obsessive amount of steroids, they die at the age of 40. I mean, that's just common facts because their heart basically craps out on them. So,
yeah, no, and I think that's a very valid point. I mean, there are unhealthy practices on both sides of that spectrum, and I mean, like I said, we're not here to fat shame anybody or tell you not to feel, to feel like you can't be comfortable. You can't be comfortable in your own skin, or that you shouldn't feel comfortable in your own skin, because you know what, you shouldn't. You should never get to the point or allow yourself to get to the point where you think lesser of yourself because you don't look a certain way. I mean,
Send dick pics.
is it?
Yeah, I'm just
Unsolicited dick pics.
Oh my gosh!
no solicited.
No,
They want
it. There goes the podcast.
Okay, go ahead.
But no, I mean, I don't think that people should be, use it as motivation for sure. Don't like sit there and just be like, you know what, yeah, I'm fat and I'm stuck this way and I can't change, or that I'm not skinny enough and I need to do this and that. Like, be comfortable and be okay with yourself. I mean, you gotta be. It's just to function on a day-to-day basis and to be healthy about it. That's. I mean, like I talked about in the previous recording that went south. I used to weigh 315, 330, right in that area, and I dropped about 70 plus pounds, and I'm just sitting at about 270. Math is me can't do math. No, I'm down to about 250 right now.
Put that wine down, boy.
Yeah, I know. It's hitting a little different, but no, I'm down to about 250 right now. And I mean, yeah, it was hard. I mean, but you got to start somewhere, and you just slowly work your way there, and you can't give up on the grind. You have to just work through the steps and realize that maybe Joe Blow over here can drop weight like without even trying, and you're busting your ass and you're busting your ass twice as hard and you're not seeing anything. Don't give up. Keep pushing, because you will eventually, something will give and you will see it. Like, I speak from experience on that.
And I don't think that anybody, if they're going to go on a diet or try to lose weight, that they should go full force into it. It should be a gradual change, because you're more likely to be consistent gradually. It's just, I'm a big person in stocks. You see the fluctuations every single day, but if you look at a 5-year span, it goes up. It's the same thing with losing weight. You might see that fluctuation. Maybe one day you're 2 pounds over when you go to bed. The next day you're 2 pounds under. Then you're 2 pounds over, 2 pounds under. But you start to see a change over time that starts to gradually decrease. And you can be more consistent if you slow down your diet plan. And I think the biggest one that I always like to emphasize is if you want to be a certain way, don't put a model on on your mirror or on your wall that's who you want to be. What you should do is take a picture of yourself, put it on the wall, and then 2 months later put yourself back on the wall, and then 2 months later put yourself back on the wall. Then you'll see you 2 months ago ain't you 2 months today.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then you 4 months today ain't you 4 months ago. Like, that's just how, you should compare yourself to yourself and not compare yourself to Scarlett Johansson, to The Rock, to Vin Diesel, to these, people who have 8 hours a day that could. I'm getting a weird look over here. What do you guys say?
You just said Vin Diesel.
What? To DMX.
Just Vin Diesel's
rip in peace.
He's a mythical creature.
Vin Diesel's a mythical creature.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Bro, look at him.
What about him?
Just look at it.
You say the drinks are hitting me, Deborah. What do you?
What the fuck?
Bro, Vin Diesel. He's mythical. Just look at him.
Yeah.
Okay.
He lives his life 1/4 mile at a time.
Exactly.
What kind of clown ass is that?
If you're gonna quote Ben Diesel, you have to do the voice. That gravelly ass one.
Oh no.
But no, all right. But so the point that I was gonna jump in on, but then I'll let Deacon over here kind of take his stance. But with the athletes, so I tell my clients all the time. It's like, listen, I'm not training you to be an athlete, so we're not gonna go to those extremes. Because the athletes, they do that to their body, but the difference between like the people who are like they neglect their health and expect us to still see them as beautiful is that they are neglecting their health, knowing like most of them are knowingly knowing that they're taking the easy route out, and then they try to make us still see them as the people who abuse their bodies. Because most bodybuilders, most powerlifters, football players even, yeah, they know that they're probably gonna like, have like Alzheimer's or probably be like a potato by, like they're gonna have brain injuries or joint injuries. Like,
can you say that one more? What was that? Alzheimer's,
whatever.
Okay, go ahead.
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
However you say, man. It's, I played football. It's already shown.
Or they might not be able to walk.
Yeah. Like, so, like, the people, like, when you say, like, gymnasts have, like, the issue, but they kind of, like, some of them go in probably not knowing about that, but some of them know going into that, like, when they're pushing their bodies to that point that they know, like, there could be a point where I mess my body up, but that's because they're competing. They're going in for a short period, so they got to really push their bodies to that limit. That's why you respect them so much, because you see them do something that you're like, the human body can do that, and then they pay for it in the end, but hopefully the journey was worth it. Whereas fat people go to the buffet and they say, well, the journey was worth it. Like, there's a different kind of respect. And just like what we went over in that first one, where if I saw someone who was overweight in the gym, or if I saw someone who had the deck stacked against you, let's say you had scoliosis, paralyzed, and you literally couldn't do anything, but you were still making yourself in the gym, you're still trying to get in health, and you're still trying to be the best you could be, I'd have 10 times more respect for you than any jabroni going in the gym who's in shape and just going to the gym.
So what if you are actually paralyzed from the neck down?
Well, then you just gotta hope that whoever's taking care of you is feeding you all right. Because if they ain't, then you're kind of boned.
True. Okay, I get you that one.
But that's what I'm saying. Is
you do passively burn calories.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just the thing is, like, yeah, if you were like handed down the 1 out of a million, the SOL card, you just got to make the best out of it.
True.
So, just in our failed podcast recording, I'm going to bring this up again and be the devil's advocate and say, okay, in the situation where we're talking about these people that they're putting on a pedestal as far as they're pushing for the big and beautiful movement, like, okay, this is the shining example of what you should strive to be, or you should just be okay with this and not push yourself harder, not have to worry about pushing yourself harder or try to meet a certain image. I brought up an example of this gal who's a TV personality that my wife and her friend watch weekly, and it's personally not my show or something that I get any enjoyment out of, but
cup of diabetes.
Yeah, they like it. So, hi, honey.
A cup of insulin.
If you're watching this show, you're almost on the big time. We're bringing in some of your topics, so hopefully you enjoy. But
she's like, I'm already clicking.
Yeah, this is me.
I got like 5 seconds into it. Nope, done.
I think that's what most people probably do.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
after they hear the sleep paralysis demon,
they're like, oh, what the hell did I get into now?
Like, oh shit, follow me here.
Damn it! I thought I got rid of him. I thought I shook that man. He back now. He on the podcast. But no, so they watch this show, My Big Fat Fabulous Life, and there is a woman on there, Whitney is her name, and she was diagnosed with a certain, let's see if I can say it right this time, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. I probably butchered the hell out of it, but no,
Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome.
I got a clap from Jake, so I did all right. And she used to weigh less, and then she put on about 200 pounds in 1 year because of that disease. And now she's still doing everything she was doing in college, but she can't seem to drop the weight. So my thing is, should someone like that be put up on a pedestal, or be like, hey, you should strive to be like this person because of her body image, or or are you guys? What's your take on that?
Wait, before we get into it, if okay, this is the nerd part of me coming out of it, my health nerd coming out of me. If anybody wants to know what polycystic ovarian syndrome basically means, it's an imbalance of hormones in your body that causes you not to drop eggs on a frequently basis. Like every month, women shed eggs, that causes their period. So when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, it could be an improper hormonal balance in your body that causes you to drop eggs infrequently. And there is symptoms that do lead to overweight and obesity because of your hormonal imbalance. So if anybody wants to know what that means, that's what that means. All right.
Well, yeah,
my nerdy side's done.
But yeah, with that stuff, it's like, it goes back to the whole, like, if you're handed that SOL card, like, no matter what the doctor prescribes you, whether it's hormonal treatment, if that even helps that, or whether it be, because like that's the thing too, is like if life, like let's say you're doing something, and then suddenly life hits you and you have to change your habits, you got to kind of adapt. So like if she's just doing the same stuff and it's not working, maybe try to adapt. But let's say she's tried everything, she's literally exasperated all of her options, then hey, like I said, you just got to do your best. And even then, if she's doing her best and she's out there telling people, listen, I have this because of this disease. It's not by choice, but it's because literally I cannot physically do this. I'm doing everything. Do not like strive to continue to better yourself. That's great. But if she's out here saying, I'm the victim, victim me, victim this, that is not great.
There's just this little tiny hair in your glasses. Sorry, it's like depending on what the message she's trying to get out is like, listen, I'm still, even though I'm gaining weight, I'm still working out, even though I know I might not be able to lose this. You guys, I bet you none of you out there have it. If there are, there's a few of you, so you have no excuse to get some changes. If she's saying that, by all means. But if she's out there going, Queens, you're all victims. Queens, y'all gotta get your mans to accept you as a beluga whale if I say so, then I'm gonna tell her no. I mean, I think it also comes down if you are married to somebody who is starting to gain a bit more weight on both sides of the spectrum. If you're a woman and your man starts to get into an unhealthy amount, like there's everybody gains weight when they get into a relationship. That's just common. Yeah. I mean, you get more comfortable. You get to that point where you feel like you don't need to try as hard anymore. That happens.
But that's where there's like a mutual agreement.
Yeah, but if like I'm not gonna say like if my wife, but I think if anybody in this world and their husband or wife starts to gain to an unhealthy amount, I think you should have the I guess the balls to basically tell them, hey, you're kind of getting to the point where you're unhealthy, and I want you to be around for your children. I don't want you to be diabetic, having to worry about getting your insulin shots, checking your A1Cs. I don't want you to have heart disease. I mean, it affects both men and women when it comes to that. So, I mean, that's just one thing.
For the love of my debit card, we've been to the grocery store 3 times this week. I had to buy you 3 different chains.
We just bought Oreos yesterday and they're gone already? What the fuck?
Have we been to JCPenney 5 times this week? Each time we got new pants. You're a queen, though. I can't tell you otherwise.
I mean, there's other people who have diseases that are far worse than... I mean, I'm not saying polycystic ovarian syndrome is not a bad syndrome, bad disease. But there are other people who have equal level diseases, like heart disease, like diabetes, anything like that. And they have stents put into their body, and they still are at the gym, working out. And yes, you might have a harder challenge. You might have a harder hill to climb than somebody who has a normal, able-bodied person. But you can still overcome that mountain that you have to climb.
Oh, I just want to backtrack a little bit. It just being that both Jake and I are both married individuals. I would definitely testify, or I would also agree or make comment that if I started to slip, my wife would just beat my ass like a random music. Get your ass in the gym.
Now the problem is if you tell her that she's slipping, you might not be slipping in that house no more.
See, I don't think the way my wife works out, she is a beast. I mean, I respect her to death for her dedication and drive because, there's people that, they'll slip every now and then, and it's like, okay, you kind of fall off the wagon. And she's not like drill sergeant by any means, but she's very regimented, and that's something I definitely respect about her. Not just saying that because this is on the podcast, and everybody or the whole 27 people are going to hear this, but I just do respect her for her drive, and I think that's something that people that go out on their New Year's resolutions, or they start a plan, and they're like, you know what, I want to get in shape like one of the famous athlete or a Hollywood superstar, and I want to be like that. They get started and they go in too hard. They try to just kill it from the beginning, and they lose that drive. They lose they lose focus. Maybe not even focus, but they just lose that drive, and they don't they don't see the changes soon enough, and so they fall off the wagon, and then they just kind of give up. And that's something, like I said earlier, as someone who's been in that position. I mean, when I started losing weight, how I started was that every 3 days out of the week, it'd be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I would get off work at 3:30, working them banker hours, and I'd go on a walk. I'd start at about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I'd go on like an hour-long walk. And it ended up being like, sometimes it'd be like a 4 mile, sometimes it'd be a 6 mile. It would just depend. And I just walked. I literally just walked it. And I mean, it wasn't like a leisurely pace. It was kind of a brisker pace. And then eventually, when I felt some of the weight come off and my weight was going down, and your body will speak to you. I don't know if these two here will make testament to that, but for me, my body kind of spoke to me, and it was like, okay, we've been walking, we're used to this, let's push it a little bit. And so I started doing a little running. I'd do sprints within that walk that I'd take. So I'd be like, okay, walk, see a good little stretch of sidewalk, run, just sprint it, and do like a dash. And eventually I started doing that more throughout, and then I could run more of it as time went on. And the changes came with it. And it wasn't easy, and it wasn't like an overnight thing. It was I couldn't go back and tell you how many months it was, but it was some time. And then you just add to it. And then you add the diet to it as well. I mean, the diet is a huge thing. It's like we talked about in the first podcast. You got to have a good diet. I mean, you can't eat like crap and expect to see the changes either. I mean, if you bust your ass and work hard and then you eat like crap, you're just completely negating all the hard work you put in. So you gotta have somewhat of a diet, but just don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, everybody gains differently, and you just got to keep that focus and just keep yourself regimented and keep going. And don't let anybody discourage you. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise or get in your own head, because that is the worst thing you can do for yourself, or allow to have happen to yourself, because you're no better or no worse than anyone else out there. We are all on an equal playing field when it comes to fitness. It's who puts in the hard work, who puts in the time. I mean, with the exception of those people that have diseases and whatnot. But I will say on that regard, I mean, look at the guy who plays Black Panther, or played Black Panther, Chad Boseman. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, I think it's Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah,
guy had
right.
Cancer. Guy had,
and he looked like,
and he was still in badass shape. I mean, granted, these Hollywood actors and
rest in peace.
You know, they have access to more resources, but they still got to bust their ass to get where they get too. And
it doesn't come by them sitting on the couch. And I think what you did was the best idea. I mean, there's so many people out there that do a New Year's resolution, and then they find this random workout plan that's like for advanced athletes, and then they go hard in the paint, and then they quit after a few days because it's too hard. I think, like, if you are coming straight from the couch, you should not be doing advanced lifting. You should be going very, ease yourself into it. I mean, it's just so many people, they go from couch to the Rock resume of what he does in a day. It's like, you should not do that, because you will not come back to the gym. It's just plain and simple facts.
You got to make it enjoyable. It's just like anything else. If you don't make something enjoyable, you're never going to enjoy it.
I hate running. And I will say that to the day. I hate running. I don't like running. But, I found something that I do love that is cardio. That's jiu-jitsu. I found that, and I get my workout in. I get my cardio and get everything else. And I also lift weights. So I found something that I love. Maybe lifting weights, maybe doing that is not your thing. Maybe it's something else. But you got to find something that you love that keeps you active. And then you won't even know that you are working out. By the end of the day, you are exerted, but you will never know that you worked out because you loved it the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think you should. If you like to run, more power to you. But that is the most boring-ass thing I've ever done in my life.
And also, you got to understand what you're feeling. You got to you got to analyze yourself a little bit. Because if you're like, you know what, I've had about enough. And, yeah, you want to use that momentum. But you gotta do some soul searching here a little bit, as far as, is this a fad you're feeling? Is this just like a burst of boredom of your lifestyle? Or is this actually you wanting change? Because a lot of people, and I speak from experience in the gym, will be like, yeah, I want this. I break down everything it takes that you need to do to get to where you want to be. and they're nowhere close to wanting it. They just like that instant gratification of, I got it. So you got to be understanding enough and patient enough that if you do really want it, you're going to have to prove it not only to the people around you, but to yourself, because it's not going to come overnight, and it's not going to come easy. Like, there is no easy route to success when it comes to your body, especially if you've had years of accumulating bad habits. You're going to have days, nights, where you're laying there probably hungry, wanting a midnight snack, or you're hating yourself because you feel those withdrawals of those bad habits of a lack of sugar that you're used to getting. You're going to have those days where you feel like, is this really worth it? But you got to push through that, because nothing in life that is good comes easy. You're going to have to earn this. And that's where you see only a handful of people actually have that physique that everybody wants, because not everyone has the cojones or the willpower to get there.
Yeah. And I think another thing, I think a lot of people where they get their problem is the late night snacking. I think it's that you're sitting at home, you're bored, you're watching TV, that ice cream in that freezer, the chips in the pantry, they're just starting to look good. I mean, you just gotta start thinking like healthy alternatives that you can think of that will replace that craving for ice cream. I mean, it could be small. You could go from ice cream to pudding. I mean, that's a pretty big, drastic calorie difference. What?
Greek yogurt?
Greek yogurt's another one. Put some Greek yogurt and put maybe some...
Like some protein powder in there?
Yeah.
'Cause that's what I do, and that's pretty solid.
And then, I mean, that is a very high protein, keep you full longer, healthy alternative. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to go for the ice cream. There's other things that will crave that sweetness, and I think that's where I mean, honest, I'm not gonna lie, that gets me in trouble. Like that when you're at sitting at 8, like you have something really salty for dinner, and then at 8:00, 9:00, you're sitting like, oh man, I want something really sweet.
Yeah, and I mean, just because I'm saying what I'm saying doesn't mean I don't have a snack at midnight every once in a while. So don't be like, I don't want to, like, if you're in the comment section being like nobody's commenting, I think, on our videos. But if you're like, but I bet you do that. It's like, yeah, you're right, I do.
But you might fit it in your macros though.
But but I'm not sitting here saying I'm at 320 right now. I'm not saying I should be a male model on the front of Men's Health. So shut the fuck up.
I'm just trying to be healthy.
You
want to live life. Yeah. You want to live life, but you also kind of want to have that healthy lifestyle. And you don't have to look, like you said, you don't have to look like the fitness model that you see on the magazine. You just got to look better than what you looked 2 months ago.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you got to be able to function, too. Like, I feel like people get caught up so much in the appearance. Like, oh, I got to have the six-pack. Oh, I got to have the veins. I got to have this certain appearance about me. Well, how do you feel? How do you function on a day-to-day basis? Are you able to do the tasks? Are you able to climb that flight of stairs with no problem? Are you able to, if you're walking wherever you're walking, are you able to walk to where you need to go without running out of breath? Do you have chest pains? Do you not have chest pains? Are you healthy? Because like we talked about earlier, there is an extreme to both sides. Like, yeah, sure, you can sit there and be looking like a cut up like a Julian Caesar salad, but you know what? If you're on all kinds of performance enhancing drugs and steroids and shit, and your body's just collapsed on itself, that's not good either. So are you healthy? And in all honesty, I remember looking. I can't remember what website it was. It was probably some article on Yahoo. They were talking about what the average human body looks like. Just a healthy average human body. And it's not like the person with the six-pack. It's not the...
It's crazy. 15% body fat.
And you shouldn't be... if that's where you're at, good. Be healthy. Be able to function. Because, at least for me, when I decided to lose the weight, it was kind of like you hit that threshold where you're like, you know what? I can keep going down this road, and I can keep eating like I'm eating and not doing as much physical exercise as I was doing. And I know what's coming. I know I'm going to gain weight. I know there's going to be problems that come with that because it's harder to do things when you're carrying all that weight. Your cravings are only going to get worse because you feel like, oh, I got to keep eating. And you're just going down, you're spiraling down that staircase and you're not going to a good place. And that's where you just got to stop. You got to self-reflect. And like Hunter said, you got to want it. You got to want to stop and make a change and then see that change through. And it's not easy, but for anyone listening that, it helps, you can do it. Like, you can do it. You just have to believe and keep putting in that hard work, and you'll get there. I promise you. As someone who's done it, I promise you can do it. Like,
I love how this turned from body positivity to being real and positive about people.
hey, I mean, I just like seeing people get healthy. Like, as someone who was like, big.
Go ahead.
As someone who was big and is where I'm at now, like, I want to. Even if it's just one person, if one person hears it and they need to hear it, then hey, I want to be that person that tells them, hey, get after it, get it done. I don't want to necessarily, like, when it comes to the body positivity stuff, as far as when I was where I was at, I wouldn't want to see myself on a magazine. Like, hey, I don't want to be. I mean, yeah, I wasn't like, I didn't hate myself, but I was definitely in no shape to be like, ooh, look at me, I want to be on the front of Men's Health. No, I mean, you stay in your lane, you know your role,
I thought hating yourself was just a part of the day.
Wait, that's not
Not everyone feels that way.
Man. I think another one that people need to start doing if they are going to be serious about it is to keep it sounds lame, but to keep like a diary or a journal, like a fitness journal. Like, kind of describe how you felt during that workout. What did you feel today after eating? Like, then you'll start noticing changes. Like, at first it might be like, I felt like crap. This sucks. I don't like this workout. But maybe after a month or two, you start saying, man, this workout's getting better. I actually am starting to enjoy again. I'm actually able to walk up the stairs, even if there's small changes. Walking up a flight of stairs without out of breath. That's a big change for a lot of people. So things like that. I think keeping it. I mean, in my training log, I have my preset weights I'm going to do for that week. I jot down notes. Like, I feel like I felt sluggish today. I did not finish my reps. I did not finish my set. And I kind of then I go back into it, like, why did this happen? Was it because I didn't eat enough food? Was it because it was a stress? I didn't drink enough water. I didn't eat enough food. I ate too much food. Like that. I mean, you got to keep that log to see your progression over time.
Well, and I liked your idea earlier as far as don't put a picture of a super athlete or a model on your on your wall. Do the pictures of yourself, because that's something that I think people overlook very easily. Mm-hmm. As far as they you see yourself in the mirror every day, but you don't always see those small changes. But if you stop and you do like what Jake was talking about earlier, where you take a picture of yourself and you put it on the wall, and you look at it after a couple months of busting your ass and just consistency, you'll see something. You'll see it.
And the thing is like you see, like you say, you see yourself every day, but you don't see those small changes. But now, have you ever had that moment where you haven't seen somebody for 3-4 months, and then you go, "Wow, you've changed a lot. You lost a lot of weight."
Mm-hmm.
Like, they noticed it. You just don't notice it because you see yourself every day, and you already have that negative mindset when you walk into the mirror. You see that negativity. You're already feeding into it, saying, "I don't look like Scarlett Johansson." But like, you see somebody else that you haven't seen in 4 months, they go, "Wow, Becky, I don't know, Richard,
yeah, well, I mean, I
Dave, you lost a lot of weight. I'm really proud of you." Like, then you get that boost, like, wow, people actually noticed. Then you go home, and I bet you take off your shirt and be like, damn, I have been losing weight. I am seeing a little definition in my...
And you look at the calendar and it's April 1st.
Damn. April Fool's Day.
Nice try. No, I mean, I'd agree with that, because I mean, I actually experienced that kind of stuff where I myself thought, I'm doing all right, but I didn't really see crazy differences, and then I'd go and hang out with people, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, you look slimmer, or this or that," and I'd be like, "Really?" And I'd go, "Oh yeah," and it's like, "Oh, what? That feels pretty good."
And then that motivates you more, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, man. It's a good feeling.
I feel good, and then you start feeling better about yourself, and you start getting that body positivity.
Yeah, in a healthy body. Yeah, a healthy body positivity. Yeah. Like that's what should be pushed. I mean, I would promote that. I'd be perfectly fine with that. I think it's more of a promotion of having a good healthy lifestyle and a positive mentality and a driven mentality to get yourself in better shape. I want to see that pushed versus what to look like, because everybody, what the pinnacle of maybe what Hunter can get to isn't going to be the same pinnacle of what maybe Jake can get to, and vice versa. I mean, you can work out, and you obviously there is a pinnacle of the shape you can get in, and you can look similar, but it's not always going to be the exact same because as human beings, we are not.
We're all genetically.
We're all different. So, that's if there's any takeaway from it that on this conversation or my what I would say my conclusion to what I would like to say about it is that would be it. I'd like to see the mentality pushed and just a push for, hey, let's just get healthy. Let's just get yourself healthy so you can function as a normal human being, everyday task.
And like through that push, because like I said, this body positivity, what they're calling it, is victimhood pretty much of I'm fat, woe is me, yada yada. Self-accountability. Because like I'm sure Jake can, attest to this, and I can through wrestling, and I got in great shape in wrestling, is that they don't teach you, why'd you lose that match? Well, the mat was a little slippery here, or, I just couldn't seem to grab his wrist, or the weather, my Aquarius sign was off today. No, it's like, why'd you lose that match? Okay, here's how we're going to either better this, because there's no excuses. I feel like with this body positivity and everything, is like, it just gives so many excuses to people. It's like, oh, my genetics, oh, my gender, oh, my age, oh, it's too expensive, oh, it's this. Instead of being like, let's just go to a park, let's go find a hill and run hills. Let's just walk around a block. Let's do anything. Push-ups are for free. Push-ups, sit-ups. Doing those 2 things a day and just body squats will get you there. So instead of pushing this fake-ass, I can't do it, push, hey, maybe it's going to be harder than this guy who lives in the Hampton Hills who has a gym in his house. He doesn't have to leave to lift. I have to drive 30 minutes to get to a gym. It's not even that great of a gym. I have to wait for Timmy Two Shoes to quit, curling in the squat rack. I want to pull his head off his shoulders some days. But at the same time, like, you got to think, all right, it's going to be harder for me, but we got to teach self-accountability so we're not sitting here babying ourselves, and we'll be better people for it.
Yeah.
And that's my thing is...
And if you are that type of person that has a fear or has anxiety that goes to a gym, that think that everybody's going to be looking at you and judging you, who you are, because you are overweight, like, I feel like, if they do, those are the douchebags that we hate. I mean, and most of the time, I'm going to be real with you, about 99% of the people who go to the gym do not give a crap what you do. As long as you're in the gym, working out, trying to get yourself buddy. And, the thing is, as for me, I did this back in college. A lady was in there. She was a little overweight, and she was working out, and these 2, frat head douchebags started making fun of her. So I told them to shut up. Like, come on. Like, she's in here. Like, she's not... You know what she's doing better than 99% of the people that are her weight? She's off the couch in the gym, and now you are telling her not to stay here because she doesn't look like your typical whatever. I mean, let her be. She's doing the work,
and that's so counterproductive because then you're just sending them back to the couch,
and then they're crying and they're in their feelings eating ice cream. Like, let them So I told them to shut up, like, let her be, and like I said, most of the people don't care. They're like, man, I actually respect you because you took the first step, and that first step is get into a gym or get out of your house and start walking. If you can't afford a gym, and I get that, they are expensive nowadays, like you said, there's a park, there's hills, you can walk around the block. There's so much opportunity that you have that doesn't have to be around a gym atmosphere. If you do have that social anxiety or that anxiety that will refrain you from going to a gym. So
I mean, just the main thing is that there's a will, there's a way. I mean, there's so much. I mean, you have so much at your disposal for workout wise on the internet. I mean, and like my wife, for instance, she likes some of that insanity stuff and the you're watching something on YouTube or Beachbody on demand, and you're just literally using your body to get the workout in. And I mean, as far as like muscle building goes, I mean, personally, my experience with it, I don't feel like the muscle building is quite there with that. But you're going to get in shape, you're going to bust your ass, and you're going to get a really good sweat, and you're going to be on a path to going in the right direction. And so just the main thing is if you're in a situation like what Hunter said where you're farther away from a gym, or you're in a situation where you can't afford a gym, just keep finding and just do the little things. Like I said, like what I did, go for a walk. Just make it consistent with going on walks and just slowly and ramp it up. But main thing is just don't let people get in your head. Don't let people get in your head, and that's
fuck them.
Yeah, exactly. You do you.
You do you. And I mean, this applies to anything in life, not just fitness. Not if your goal isn't fitness, your goal isn't being healthy, and it applies to life in general. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't be in a job that's stagnant. I have to have that growing opportunity. I have to have that feed me mentality where I just want to grow in a position, and I just can't live at that dead end job. And I think this kind of idea applies to almost all of life.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
I think if you want to better yourself, achieve it. If you want to get your bachelor's degree, achieve it. If you want to get your, if that's not your route, you want to go trade school, get it.
Yeah.
If you want to become the best electrician in the world, get it. If you want to become the best welder in the world, go get it. If you want to get a medical degree, who's stopping you? I mean, only person that's stopping you is you. Like, that's it. If your parents say that's a stupid idea, then there are some degrees out there that are stupid ideas.
Yes, a degree in mac and cheese is probably not the degree for success.
A degree in thickums, like that isn't too much. But if you want that medical degree, I mean,
on professor's degrees.
If you think you're stupid, like that, you just haven't found something that makes you smart. That's it. I mean, there's so many people out there like, oh, I'm too stupid to get a degra. It's like, no, you just haven't found anything that interests you yet. I mean, that just applies to everybody in life.
No, you're just stupid.
Well, it sounds like Daryl from this video. I'm just trying to go take a shit.
Yes, sir.
But like, it's the same thing. Like, if I haven't met you, if I haven't seen you in 10 years and you're still working at the same job after 10 years in the same position, unless it's like a very high ranking position, like you are the lawyer or the head lawyer at your own company, or if you're like a electrician who's working at a company for 20 years who really can't go higher, like if you're like a freaking store clerk at Target and you've been there for 10 years without any growth, then I don't know, I just can't respect you anymore. I mean, well, by 10 years, you should have that mentality to say, man, I want to take on more roles. Give me a manager job, or give me shipment leader, give me manager, give me general manager, give me the regional manager, give me this. Like, that's my drive always in a job. Like, I just can't sit there and just be like, I'm happy being a store clerk my entire life. If you are, man, more power to you, but
I'll be the best damn store clerk
you ever seen. I want to break records, man.
You ain't never seen groceries bagged this fast in your life.
You think I got carpal tunnel from doing the keyboard all day? No, I got carpal tunnel from bagging so much.
So I want to switch gears just a little bit, and not just completely diving on this topic because what I meant to say is because we have Jake here who is a little more in the biology field, and it's a little bit closer to home on the COVID stuff since it's such a big topic right now. I kind of want to touch on that, and I think Jake is probably a little eager to talk about stuff like that. Man. This is just more of just stuff that I've heard in the news lately that I just want to bring up and just ask and just get your opinion on more or less there, Jake. So it's just kind of my own curiosity, just because there's I feel like just from people that I talk to and people that I hear stuff from and the news that I hear about, like just last night, and when I ask you this, I'll dive into that. There seems to be a little bit of a stigma as far as should or should I not get the vaccine, and as far as the long-term effects of the vaccine. And I just want to know, like, I am indifferent. I'm not looking to wage war for one or the other side. I'm just strictly curious as far as what you know and what you've heard, since you're kind of you're closer to the front lines than me and Hunter are on this whole thing. So I would just be curious to know, for those out there who are concerned of getting the COVID shot, what would you say what would you say to them if their concerns are any kind of potential long-term effects down the road? Maybe that aren't showing up now, and some are. This is what I'll talk. This is what I just heard on the news last night. So last night I was sitting down and watching TV, and they had the local KETV news, and there was reports, and there were cases where someone, and it's mostly people in that 40 years old and older, where they go in and they got the shot, and then they had other issues with it. Like there was one guy who had, I think it was like a cardiac arrest incident where his heart started going crazy, and then there was another woman who had an adverse reaction to it as well. And so I'm just curious. Like I said, I'm not advocating for one side or the other. This is just strictly for talking's sake. But what would you say about the COVID shots, and what do you know? Let's just go with that.
So I guess I should probably bring up my credentials.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, they'll let the good people know what you're about.
So if you want to know, I do have my master's in public health. I do focus my field of study is epidemiology. I mean, that's a very loaded question. Okay, so if we can break it down in chunks, that would be a little better.
Yeah, go ahead.
So long-term effects, we can't. I mean, there's just no way to know. We don't have the data. We can't predict 3, 4, 5 years down the road. But as what we've seen now, it does have its benefits. And yes, adverse side effects are going to happen. With the cardiac arrest, it's really hard to tell if it was from the vaccine itself or if that person was unhealthy and then they had a cardiac arrest from a different issue. We don't know. We don't know the person's long-term history of heart disease. We don't know anything like that. So to put 2 to 2 together, it's saying, I mean, you can't. I mean, that's just the issue. You can't say that it was caused. It could have been. I'm not saying it can't have been, but to say it was solely because of COVID I got my COVID vaccine and then I had a cardiac arrest. I mean, you could have been driving and got a cardiac arrest. Does driving cause cardiac arrest? It's the same thing. You can't, because there's a correlation doesn't mean it's a causation. I mean, and that's just one incident. And yes, there are going to be a potential chance for adverse side effects. I mean, that's just how vaccines are. But would you rather have yes, one death is too many. And if anybody has, ever passed away because of the vaccine, that's just how it is. But would you rather have 10 deaths out of 100 million people getting vaccinated, or what we've had, which is over 100,000, 200,000 deaths just in America? I think I don't know what the number is at right now.
Let's see if I can
go on. You can go on.
I'll look it up.
John Hopkins. But it's an astronomical amount of people who have died from COVID, and the thing about vaccines is, I mean, from what we have seen, it is effective. Is it effective in reducing transmission? No, because that's not what vaccines are. That's not what vaccines do. They don't reduce the potential of transmission. What vaccines do is decrease your chances of having adverse health effects from getting COVID. I mean, that's the main point. So if you do get infected by COVID, you're not going to have any potentially serious health effects from it. That's the whole point of getting a vaccine. So I think if you are able to get the vaccine and you are at that, eligibility to get the vaccine, I think you should get it. I've gotten mine. I'm fully vaccinated. I'm 2 weeks out from my vaccination. So I am actually I'm fully vaccinated. I think that if you are able to get it, you should. If it's for other reasons, personal reasons, I think you should. But if you believe that you don't need it or if you don't want it, that's up to you. There is a thing called herd immunity. I mean, if enough people get it and you don't want to get it, you'll be protected by the people who get it. It's the same thing with anti-vaxxers, and don't get me started on those.
Yeah, we won't dive into that.
Yeah, that would be
not for this one.
So if enough people around you gotten vaccinated, if you choose, like, let's say for you, Hunter, I'm not saying that you will or not, but if you didn't get vaccinated, but, for like a small number like this, if Deacon and I got vaccinated, you would be at a herd immunity. You'd be protected because we would have it.
Yeah.
Now, if you put in a bigger population, if you go into a store and everybody around you is, had the vaccine.
Like 50-50.
And when it comes to herd immunity, it's about, it has to be a certain range.
Yeah.
Most experts say it has to be around 70 to 80% of people. It could be higher, it could be lower, but if enough people around you have gotten the vaccine, you are theoretically protected because they are protecting you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to get it, but enough people need to get it to get that herd immunity. And that's why we don't see, okay, also I'm a very big into infectious diseases. This is my niche as well. It's the same thing with measles and mumps. The reason why we don't see measles and mump outbreaks that happen into America is because a lot of people are vaccinated with the MMR vaccine, and we have that protection. So same thing, same deal. It's an infectious disease. It's transferred. It's dangerous. You might not think so with a 99.9% or 99 survival rate, but if you actually take 0.01 and you times it by the world population, that is still a lot of numbers. That's one too many.
And so looking it up here, it looks like on John Hopkins' website, it looks like are currently, looks like in the United States, 561,780 deaths. I don't know if I said that right. I'm a couple pieces of, or a couple bottles of alcohol in.
Couple of pieces of alcohol.
Yeah, a couple pieces of alcohol. But, 561,780 deaths.
So now, now think about this. You're an epidemiologist, or you're, whatever. What would you rather have? 500,000 deaths out of how many people who have gotten COVID? It's probably in the upper millions now, to 10 million people and potentially less than 50 deaths. I don't know. I'm just trying to put apples to apples here. I don't know about you. Yes, I do feel bad for the people who have lost their lives when it comes to the vaccine. If that does happen, I don't know. I don't really know that facts yet. But I'd rather take, it as cruel as it sounds, I'd rather take the 50 compared to the 500,000.
Well, and I don't think people should be. Let's see how I put this. I don't think having there should be this not stigma. Maybe it is stigma, the word I'm thinking of, but it seems like there's certain people on one side of the spectrum that are hard, like get it, and then there's people hard on the other side of the spectrum like, no, I completely, absolutely refuse. And I don't know if that's the right way of going about it. I mean, me personally, I haven't gotten it yet. My wife has gotten it. Her friend and some other people around us have gotten it. I'm not completely opposed to it, but I am personally, since I'm not much at risk with it, it's not as big of an at risk for me. I kind of want to wait and see a little bit longer until see how things play out. I don't have anything against anyone who's gotten it. I don't have anything against people who are completely against it. At the end of the day, I think everyone should respect people's decisions. I think that if you're an older individual or if you're at risk, I think it is wise to get it. I don't think that you should, be like totally opposed to it. You should definitely. There are options. I mean, there are options as far as who you get the vaccine from. So, I mean, do your research, find out which one you're the most comfortable with. I mean, I think that'd be the wise thing to do. And I mean, if the time comes that I decide to take the vaccine, that's I know what I'm going to do. But like I said, I don't agree with everyone who's like, I don't like hearing the people that are like, oh, I completely don't want to get it and I'll never get it. And then the people that are like, no, everybody's got to get it. If everybody doesn't get it, then we're shutting everything down and you can't do this if you don't have it. And there should just be, there should be a mutual understanding on both sides. It's like, okay, if you don't get it, that's fine. Look, that's your decision. Respect your decision. It is what it is. It's kind of like, when you sign up to go into the military or something like that, you kind of know what you're signing up for. And it's the same thing with this, I feel like, to a certain degree. Like, if you don't take it, then okay, then you know what you're signing up for. It's the potentials of what could happen. And if you get it, then hey, like what you said, would you rather have it and then minimize? Or, you either way, I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think there's a wrong decision. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, it's really what's right for someone on an individual basis. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, like I said, to go staunchly one way or the other, I think is kind of foolish. You're kind of screwing yourself.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's your body. And I'm very libertarian when it comes to the vaccine. I've told, even when I was working the front lines, doing all that, I was very libertarian. I mean, if you don't want to get it, that's up to you. I think you should. But if you don't want to, You go with what you're comfortable with. I mean, and people who try to force it onto people, I feel like, they're in the wrong. And then the people who completely deny it without doing the research are in the wrong. I mean, if you are, I can't tell you people I've heard where it's like, well, it was too fast. Well, when you have the top world scientists working together to figure out a common, defense against the virus, you're going to get this. I mean, this is one in a life. I mean, when's the last time we had a true pandemic of this nature was the influenza pandemic in 1918. I mean, and that too. I mean, it's just that I'm just saying, like, you just realize how many people would come together to fight a common enemy. I mean, this is public health at its T, where you would get that type of collaboration with people. So,
well, and I think what kind of I get a kick out of as far as how fast the vaccine came out, and just everything around it, is it very much became something that was used politically in the course of the last election and prior to the election. And people were like, oh, if I don't, you had some politicians who are like, oh no, I won't get it because I don't trust that the Trump administration can do this right. And now they're the same people that are the first in lines to get it.
But here's the thing, is that the Trump administration wasn't the one that built the vaccine. Trump and his staff were not the ones that did the vaccine. It was scientists that were actually in vaccinology.
But it was the push to get the vaccine done by the presidency at the time to fast track it. And that's what the issue was, as far as people on the other side of the aisle that were like, look, it can't be done. And it was done, and I just find that interesting. And, I find it amusing is what I find it, because even if the shoe was on the other foot, I would find it just as amusing, because it's like, okay, you're contradicting yourself. You're saying, this can't be done, I don't trust it, and then now that administration has changed hands, now it's okay, everybody needs to get this vaccine, let's roll it out. And obviously it wasn't Trump in the labs, it wasn't
God,
his
that would be
people,
a scary sight.
his people in the office.
I'm not trying to get political, but Trump in the lab, I'd be fucking scared.
It was put in the hands of scientists who, it's their specialty. That's their job. And they did it. Hey, they got it done. So, but like I said, to me, it was just, I got a kick out of it that it's like, okay, 1 minute, no, don't trust it. I mean, even in one of the debates, I vividly remember our current president saying, something about he would talking about rolling it out, and well, his line was, if the scientists say it's okay, then yes, I'll get it. And it's like, okay, well, who do you think is developing the vaccine? Who do you think is actually working on the vaccine? Do you think it's Trump in there who's actually mixing the vials on? No, it's scientists are the ones who started working on it from beginning to end. There was just a push from the administration down to them to say, hey, let's get this done, let's roll this out. I mean, that's just how it works. I mean, it's just like any other business, okay, it's like Ford Motor Company. I watched, the only reason I say this is because I watched the movie Ford versus Ferrari last night, and it was a great movie. Different time, different place for this conversation, but for at least on the movie. But, Henry Ford II, he was the one who said, okay, yeah, let's go to war and let's go beat Ferrari in this race. But he wasn't the one actually on the ground level building the cars. It was Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles developing it. So in the same way, as far as the vaccine goes, Donald Trump comes out and says, okay, let's fast track this. Let's get this done. Project Hyperspeed or whatever it was called.
Yeah, Hyperspeed.
He put it in the scientists.
Hyperspeed, I think it was.
Put the send word down to the scientists, get it done, and the scientists were the one who were going to get it done. So, and they did, and that's.
My biggest take on all this is, and it's gonna always happen. It's just the unfortunate thing is, politics and science, they shouldn't intertwine, but they have. That is my biggest pet peeve in anything, is that science is neutral. There's no left, there's no right, there's no this, there's no that. It's truth. I mean, I shouldn't say absolute truth. It's more, this is the evidence that
But
shows it.
it's tested. And
It's tested and it's retested and it's regularly tested. And that's the thing, is that people put their politician hands in science, and that's what made, like, COVID vaccines, it got too politicized, and that frustrated me the most, because no matter which side you're on, it got too politicized, and it made my life miserable, because it was like I got so many calls, so many people saying, well, this what Trump said, this was this said. It's like, it's not what anybody says. It's a freaking virus that has it doesn't care who you are.
Yeah.
It will affect you. And that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be a healthy individual and you might be able to get through it, and that's, you probably get through it, but there are the potential chance that you could, get that SARS, a sudden acute respiratory disorder. So, that's just it. I'm sorry, but that's just.
And I think also, like, with all the COVID and quarantine, it's really amplified. Not just like, because like what you're saying is like it's amplified and put even more politics and science hand in hand instead of separating them, as well as now people putting their own twists. Because there's already been like I'd say probably an attack on science as far as, with the genders, because that's been going on. And then you also have the politics of like climate change.
Oh God!
So like, there's like politics and science have been already kind of in that almost like entanglement, or they were getting there, and then this was pretty much just like pouring gasoline on it and lighting a match and throwing it in. Like this was the light that started the fuse, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And you can see it in many things, because in politics, we are far past the point where you can take someone who is like, I'm Democrat, and if you take someone who's Republican, if you sit them down in a room, they might be able to talk. But if you have someone who's a diehard Democrat, diehard Republican, back in the day they could still talk. They might not agree with each other, but they could talk. But nowadays, you sit them in a room and it's just a shouting match. And it's really dumbed down everybody's communication with each other. And so when you have something like this where it's COVID and like information is key, but now all of a sudden you're playing a game of, well, who gave you that information? Well, why did that information say this? Was it a Democrat? Was it Republican? Who was it? You start to muddy the water, so now no one trusts anyone, which makes it harder for you, and it makes it harder for the public to trust anything anyone's saying.
The thing is that, the thing is I don't care if you question people. Like, you should always question.
You should question.
That's how science is developed. That's how science basically, how would you say it? Advances is because you question it. You shouldn't, but there comes a point where your questions should have merit.
And that's what I'm saying.
If they don't have merit, they're not going to, have any sort of advancements in that type. So, I don't know.
Well, to me, it seems like the questioning isn't even so much science-based. It's who. It's not like they're not even questioning the science. Like, half these people, I guarantee if you told them what was in the vaccine or whatever, like if you told me what was in the vaccine, I'd be like, I don't know what the heck that is. But like, and I'm on the side where Deacon is, where like I'm not gonna take it till I kind of wait a little bit more. I'm gonna see how it all goes, but that's just because I don't trust the government as it is.
Again, you're putting the politics and the science together.
Listen, I don't trust. I know, but I'm being honest about it. Though I'm not gonna be like.
Here's another thing that I always wanted to tell people is, the reason why the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine it was so quickly done, is because it's not, I shouldn't say it's new. It's not like this is the first time it's ever been done, but it's a new technology that they're doing, that it's more of an mRNA vaccine, which can be quickly done. Because back in the day, they would have to grow the culture cell, grow the vector to introduce that into your body. Now we're using more like, basically kind of think of it as like a lipid, like a fat bubble. So they're able to quickly produce these things instead of having to wait for it to grow and all that. That's why it was done using that type of vaccine and that type of technology, because it can be quickly replicated and quickly done. So I mean, also and that's a lot of actually other vaccines are actually kind of might be starting to move towards that way, just because it is a way to quickly do it and quickly get it to people. So
Yeah, and I'm not even like it could have came out in a day. I still don't trust the
and that's
government.
and there's more power to you on that,
This is a conspiracy. I mean, it's not really a conspiracy because you talked about
turn the frogs good.
the Waco, Texas stuff. How the AFT just like went overkill on those guys out there.
What?
You never heard about that? Like the
look it
Waco,
up.
Texas, where it was with what's his bucket? He was a part of the cult. Kirsch.
Wait, was this back in the 1990s?
Yeah.
Was this okay? Now I know what
So
you're
the
talking
AFT, and this is just from like a survivor talked about it, and then also just from I've heard from other people who've looked into
about. Have you
this.
seen that Netflix special?
Not yet, but
you
I mean,
should.
he talked about it because he helped out with kind of getting that set up. Is that the AFT, like they were like getting on, I think it's the, what's their buckets? I forgot the cult's name. But it was like it was a sect of a religion, and they were just chilling out there in Waco, Texas. Well, the AFT, if they really wanted to capture Kirsch, they could have captured him on his jog that morning, but they decided to make it public. So they let him get back to his complex. He got to his complex. They kept on switching out people who he was negotiating with, because they were actually making progress at one point. Then they pulled that guy, put in someone new. They kept on pulling people in and out. They were playing like sounds of like bunnies getting butchered and like just like all sorts of crazy sounds, flashing lights at them. They weren't like giving them any food or water. Like they were doing psychological torture to these people. And so like these people are stuck in there with kids too. And so then they block an exit. They crash a tank, or it was one of those like heavy like armored vehicles. They crash it in there, block everyone in, start sending in tear gas in there. A fire starts and it burns the whole place down, killing all the adults and the kids in there with them, because they wanted it to be public, and it was a complete, mess up on the ATF and a complete overreach, I say, on that. And you could say it's a little sus.
Is this like the Waco standoff?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
So that you gotta watch the Netflix special on that. It is the craziest shit I've ever seen.
No, that's what I'm saying is like, I don't like, and then when you start hearing the government talk about we're gonna have a COVID passport where you're like, if you want to travel, you gotta do this. If you want to do this, you got to do that.
Yeah, see, I don't think that's right. Like,
we don't do it with the flu vaccine.
No, we don't do it with any other vaccine.
Well, we do it. Okay, so not travel. Well, a little bit. So
which one?
But with concerts, you can
go.
Well,
no, not concerts.
Because that's what they're kind of getting into. Is they're getting into like entertainment and travel.
So let me kind of get a little emphasis on this. Like, if you go to public schools, you got to bring record of your vaccines. Like your MMR, your DTaP, all that, your OPV or IPV, whichever one you got. It's a polio bite. Okay, yeah. So I know, kind of going abbreviations.
Oh no, that's fine.
So you do have to have record of that when you go to public schools, and you do. So if you
for the people listening, for the teachers or for the students,
students and teachers.
Okay.
So like when you went to public school, your mom had to send in a vaccine record. Same thing if you go to college. You got to bring a vaccine record saying that you're fully vaccinated, so that people at school are not in danger of getting it.
Yeah.
Same thing with traveling. So if you travel into a third world country, most likely you're going to have to get a certain vaccine. It's called the Twinrix. You might already have one of them, so you get the Hep A and the Hep B vaccine. A lot of us already have the Hep B vaccine, but not many of us have Hep A, because hepatitis. Okay, I should go into full details here. Hepatitis A is not really common in America. We have Hep C, but there's no vaccine for it. But Hep A is not common, but it's common in the third world country. So sometimes you actually have to have record of you saying, I got my hepatitis A shot and my hepatitis B shot. I'm okay and cleared to go. Or if you go to China, you have to get a certain type of shot as well when you go over there, and you got to show record of that shot. So there are already implemented, things that you have to show proof of.
But nothing quite like this
Not
here.
like concerts. You don't
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I think, a little extreme. But and it's kind of like, and you also have to show a record of your flu shot sometimes to some places too. So I mean, it's already implemented. So to say it's new, I wouldn't say that's a little.
Well,
extreme.
I think it's not necessarily because, like what you're saying, I totally believe you. I'm not disputing what you're saying because I believe that probably to go travel, to travel the world, or you're going to another country, I imagine they would want to see that too. Because if you're coming in, it's just like a whole other topic for another podcast. But if you're coming in from the southern border in the United States or the northern or southern border, they're probably going to want to see that too, just so you're not bringing any kind of infectious diseases into the country.
Because there's been way too many times where, so there's been a lot of times where people would come from a third world country, like, or another country, and come in with a certain disease, and lo and behold, hey, guess what? We have a measles outbreak, we have a mumps outbreak because somebody brought it from another country, and that does happen. I mean, infectious diseases are just...
Yeah, so in that regard, that's nothing new. But I think what Hunter's touching on, or what he just touched on, and I mean, what I've heard too, and I completely agree with, is as far as like if Hunter or Jake or myself, Deacon, want to go to a concert, or I want to go to a football game, or go to, any sporting event, any kind of public event. Never in the history of any public event I've ever gone to have I had to show any kind of medical information to get in. And that is, I think, where, me personally, I don't agree with that. I think that's an overreach. If we haven't had to do it before with viruses that are just as, if unchecked or unvaccinated, can be just as deadly or more, why do we have to start doing it now? I think it just, to me and to a lot of other people out there, I think it sets a precedent of a gross overreach. And whether or not it's well intended or not, because I can't. I'm not going to pretend to know if it is or not. That's out of my wheelhouse.
It's the government. Come on.
Well, that we will let our listeners decide, but or at least I will. But I don't feel like, even if it's a good intended thing, it comes off as it does not come off well to people.
It kind of comes off as 1984.
Yeah, it comes off as very much like, as an overreach. That's pretty much as simple as I can put it. And I think it then, if your goal is to get people vaccinated and to get people to, counteract COVID stuff, I think it works. It's kind of like trying to ban guns. If you go out and you try to ban guns, or ban, like prohibition, you try to go and ban alcohol, or you can even mention weed. You go try to ban weed. How well does that work?
It has not worked as well as
it does not work.
Like a prohibition, they literally were able to bootleg stuff.
And so it's going to be the same thing. So if your goal is to get people on the same page as far as get vaccinated and get healthy, or just take the vaccination and fight COVID, I think it would be a very big counter step if they were to make people have, you have to have a COVID card to get in here, other than the places that already ask for it now. I'm not saying that, that if the organizations or the places that already ask for that health information add that to it, that's their prerogative. I think they're well in their right to do that. But as far as adding to these other events and stuff like that, I think it's a mistake. That's all. That's my opinion. I think it's a mistake.
I would agree with you. The problem is, if it's a private company, they can
do it as they please. Yeah.
But yeah, I think to go to sporting events or concert events, you never had to show anything else. And also, the fact is that is medical history. That potentially could also be a violation of HIPAA. And HIPAA is basically saying that you have your right to your own medical, and no one can really release that except for you.
There was to talk about if they were to actually go through with that, people were curious to see if that would then bring forth a bunch of cases of this is going against HIPAA, and
because if you're not HIPAA trained, you're actually technically not supposed to look at medical records. That's just it. You have to be HIPAA trained. You have to have that training to be able to look at medical records, because you have to sign on oath that I will never release any information about you. I could find information about you and you, but I would never tell you, never release it to you, never tell anybody about it because I can't.
I mean, like I said, I think it sets a bad precedent. And then if you think about it just in a lighter-hearted subject or a lighter-hearted note, okay, think about this. If you're handing someone a card with your medical information and just there's probably going to be other personal information on it to just some Joe Schmo.
You know about my ligma?
Yeah, you're
Lick my ball.
Just think about it for a second. Like, you're going to go into, like, you're trying to get into a Nebraska game, and you got to hand your COVID shot ticket thing to the person taking tickets. Like, do you really trust the guy or gal on the other side of that ticket booth with that information? Like,
No.
Like, let's think about that for a second. Like, all right, let's scan it here. Scan. Oh, all right, this is the copy for us. Oh, this is a scan for the University of Nebraska. Okay, here you go. You know,
I get you.
I just.
But now for like school records, I mean that could be a different story, but that's a whole different ballgame.
Well, and like
that's a whole new can
well,
of
like
worms.
the reason that my wife got it is she's a teacher in a public school. She deals with kids.
She's at risk.
She's in a situation where you're, like you said, in an at-risk situation,
In a congregated
and
setting.
it's it is a public school, public establishment. That's part. It's kind of like what I said earlier about if you go into the military, you kind of know what you're signing up for. Same thing with being in any kind of public institution. Chances are you're going to have to get vaccinated, just like you'd have to get vaccinated for anything else. Just part of the deal. Like I said, my thing, and like I've even told my wife, is you know what? If you want to get it, I respect that. But if someone doesn't want to get it, you got to respect that too.
I would agree. And like I said, eventually, if enough people get vaccinated to be herd immunity, and you might not even have to get it, but the more people who get it, the faster we're going to achieve that herd immunity. And it's such a bad way to say it, herd immunity, because it sounds like you're herding cattle, but it's just that's the terminology that was put onto it.
And I mean, I think all of us would agree, is anyone who's listening who is like undecided or is on one side of there, just get educated. Get educated on it. I think you can't do yourself harm by anything in life. Just look into it. Like, instead of just going off what your buddy's saying at work or going off of Facebook or Twitter or wherever you get your news, double check it. Double down.
Oh yeah, always fact check everything. Yeah. Don't ever take as word value. Even as me, as being a person who is in science realm, I always double check everybody as well. Like, you should never ever take it at face value. Always, but fact check with purpose. Don't just fact check with conspiracy theories. Well, I was told by Daryl down the street that no. Fact check with purpose. Look at the other journal articles. Look at third party research. Please don't just take it from face value. Please don't take it from a journal article that you saw on Fox News or CNN or whatever. Please do your real research. Yeah. And if you actually say, I actually did my research and I asked you to cite your sources and you cite some bullshit website, I'm going to just leave because I'm not going to trust you.
No, well, I mean, that's part of, I mean, this can be a topic for another podcast, but I mean, just all the misinformation that's out there now, as far as like
it's so
what
bad.
You can see just on Facebook alone. I can't even begin to tell you all of the silly shit I've seen on there that some people, they buy hook, line, and sinker, and then you look at it, like there was one thing, just to use a brief example, there was like a CGI animated thing with amusement park rides, and they're like super wild ass amusement park rides that would never work because either you'd kill the people riding them or they'd break. And then you'd end up killing the people riding them anyways. And you can tell with the trained eye who's seen, if you've seen a lot of CGI stuff, you can go, okay, after you've watched it for like just a few seconds, you go, okay, that's a CGI. But some people watch and they're like, oh yeah, where's these rides at? These are pretty cool. And it's like, they're not real. They're not real.
Boy, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, and that's the scary thing. I mean, that's the wonderfully scary thing about social media, is it has benefits and has done good things. And then you have fake amusement park rides that people believe are real, and then you have that. And then
or those like little fake prank videos that you'll want. You'll see, and they're so cheesy. People are like, bro, if someone did that to me, I'd be so mad. And they're like, bro, did you see what happened here?
But at the end of the day, I'm just going to say it and come out and say it. If you're an anti-vaxxer, I have no respect for you.
Dun, disrespect.
Just look up smallpox and tell me you want to be an anti-vaxxer after that. Look up measles, see what happens to your body. Look up mumps and see what happens to your body, and tell me, and look in my face and say, I'm okay with
Jake
my
said,
child.
"Come down here to the podcast.
I
Look
will
him in the
literally
face."
debate you.
He said he will take your ass on. He don't give a shit. He
I
said,
wouldn't. Look at polio. I mean, come on. These things are dangerous. Okay, that's the first start. I'm going to go. If we did this, I'll probably go on an hour
"Oh,
rant
well, we're
about-
sitting just a little shy of an hour and a half, so we're doing about our normal thing." But
Yeah, if you're an anti-vaxxer, I'm sorry. Especially if you think that vaccines cause autism. I really just have no...
what was that video you guys were watching before we started the podcast?
The Bobby. With
But
the,
you mentioned
the bottles.
autism. I just figured I'd throw that out there.
Oh my God.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No. Jesus. No, I'm just saying, man. Like,
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
Hey, at least you know the anti-vaxxers don't last long.
no. In that, no. Oh my God. Yeah,
You can only debate them in their first few months of living. And then
Well, the sad thing is, a lot of these parents who like have their kid not get vaccinated, they're probably vaccinated themselves.
Yeah.
And the thing is like it's just, oh my God, I can't
It's
even
silly.
get into it.
It's silly. I mean, I've seen some wild shit, like going back to what I just said about the fake stuff on Facebook and the misinformation. Just some of the shit that I've seen on Facebook about that. It's like, do you understand what you're saying? Like, do you understand what you're...
the reason why your kid does not get it is because you're not around anybody who hasn't got, like, most people in America have gotten vaccinated for the things that you could be at risk for. It just takes that one time, though. I mean, there's a couple of times where it was a story. It was at a park. Oh, what was it? Oh, the mom was being charged for like killing a kid because it was a 4-month-old kid who was not old enough to get their vaccine, and their 8-year-old kid who wasn't vaccinated brought measles to I think it was measles or mumps, to the park, and got that 4-month-old kid sick and killed the 4-month-old because it didn't have the immune response to be able to fight it off. And now the mom is being charged with, I think it is murder. I don't know if it's murder.
I think second degree is where it's like with intent. And
No, first degree is with intent. Second degree is just like, I got so angry at you, cheated on me, I'm going to kill you.
Third degree then?
I don't know. But she's basically, she's being charged because she endangered that 4-month. Because there is a timeline to vaccines. You just can't give somebody right when they're coming out of the womb all these vaccines. It takes months. So, like, you're putting this person in danger, and you killed them because your selfish ass decided not to get vaccinated. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
God.
No, it's... I mean,
Ugh.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like those vaccines have been out around long enough to where it's like they're tested. They, you know what they're gonna do. It's not as a.
And I rather have my kid have a reaction to that than just see them with smallpox. I mean, smallpox is eradicated from. Thank God, smallpox are eradicated from human population, but some of these things aren't. And measles is a dangerous. It's one of the few contagious viruses out there that can wreak havoc on your body. I mean, it has going to nerdy stuff here again. It has so R naught is basically one primary case affecting secondary cases. So me individually, I could potentially affect up to 12 to 18 people with one, like just being around me. I could affect up to that many people. So
pretty crazy.
That's the dangerous of it. So that's the one. Yeah.
So to end this podcast, or to get our podcast to a fairly good stopping point, we mentioned earlier that we had no comments on our videos. You are wrong in that presumption. We did have one. So let's highlight this comment. What? Yes. Let us highlight one of our commentators.
Yell trash?
Because what? We love you guys in the community that are watching our podcast, taking the time out of your day.
It's Deacon who commented.
No, it was not me. Rest assured. But I may or may not know said person that commented on our post, so I just wanted to make sure that we gave that person the love they deserve, for giving
Well,
us
thank you
such
for commenting, if
such
it's
a-
positive or negative. We
Oh, it's
always
definitely
welcome
positive.
comments.
So we have this gentleman here. I will not disclose his name, but if he's listening, I'm sure he knows who he
Is
is.
his
What's
username on there?
Oh, his username is his name because he's silly.
Well, then he's
so
okay.
I've
yeah.
just got to put him on the spot for anyone that looks up this guy's
Okay.
comment.
Wait, was it
So-
from which episode?
I can't. I won't disclose
Okay.
that. Like I've already disclosed too much. He's probably going to have
probably
rioters and
sweating bullets,
pitchforks, people with pitchforks and torches at his door, going, "How dare you!" No, this comment is smells like wankers in here. Do we have any reply, gentlemen?
You're damn right. It smells like wankers in here.
What?
Yep.
Is he
Well-
from England?
No,
Yeah.
but we did work with a guy who might as well have been from England because that's his favorite word to use is wankers.
Yeah.
Like to call people wankers. So we'd just like to give a shout out to our first commenter.
A wanker knows a good wanker, so he's in
Takes
good
one to
company.
know.
Yeah,
Right.
it does take one to know one. That is true.
Yeah, wanker.
You bloody wanker, you.
bloody
wankers. The wankers with you wank stick, you wank pheasant. But no, we appreciate all the comments and all the feedback, good, bad, and different.
Create an account, comment, and then just don't put your first and last name, like this bloody wanker did. We'll shout you out as well, Hey,
If you
maybe
have any
we'll,
questions or if you have any comments, negative
Yeah.
or positive, we always take them.
and topics.
Or topics.
Yeah,
you
we
want to
do
hear
like-
us? You want to hear two, 3 people?
You want to hear 2 dudes, 1 cup? We can,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can
I don't
rearrange.
know about that. I might miss that one.
You want to hear us debate the theory of Big Chungus?
Oh,
Harambe? Moto?
What?
Memology 101?
Memology, yeah, we could definitely do some memology.
But just comment, subscribe, tell your family, friends,
And please do
And
watch.
coworkers.
coworkers.
If you get the chance and you made it this far in this podcast, make sure you stop back and watch our Justice League review too, and let us know what you thought about that.
other episodes.
There was much sacrifice made in making that.
Oh, yeah.
video.
Yeah.
There was
No.
We battled through that movie, didn't we,
Arses
gentlemen?
were sore.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, there could have been a potential technical
Yeah, we almost had a
malfunction.
technical disaster too.
Dude,
We almost lost
literally-
someone.
Rest in pepperoni protector.
We almost lost Jake.
I was scared. I was scared.
It
for my
was
life.
quite a traumatic moment for us all.
I
It was hilarious.
I hid in the corner. I ain't gonna lie.
I had to fight to keep myself quiet. I was sitting there just trying not to break out laughing.
And I hid right over here.
I was like, I'm pretty sure someone noticed me trying to not laugh, and I just was like, oh man.
All right. Well, like I said, we appreciate y'all for listening in. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Gentlemen, take it away.
Boolin with the boys.
Jake.
You ain't gotta do it twice.
I ain't gonna do it
Oh,
twice.
okay. Well, fine then. This is the Boolin with the Boys podcast. Signing
Bye-bye.
out.
Bye bye, everyone.